most to kind of control. Well, I guess we'll start heading home soon. We've got a lot of eagles around here. It's simply the west. They're in the west, actually. Or the eagles are lighting upon the west. What's the west? What is the west in the medicine wheel? What is the west in the medicine wheel? I'm going to try to guess, okay, because I know you can look it up. There's illumination, childhood, it would be red, right? The west is red, so it's like the good red road. It's like the walk of life, the journey, and the completion of the journey, right? Once you're not a child anymore, you're walking the completion of the circle, right? So if you look at the letter G, by the time you're an adult, you've made it that far around the circle of your life. The medicine wheel. Now you're in the west, the red road, the completing journey, the journey home, right? Around the entire wheel. And just so, you have been around this way before, and you will be again. And that's kind of cool, especially if you're in Canada where everything's cool. Anyway, so I'm on the good red road. Moose medicine, the number 11, I think. So I was going to say the letter G, also gender, sex, self-esteem. We don't have to talk about what sex, just whatever yours is or isn't, or forget sex, whatever makes you safe personally in this creepy discussion. But you know, sex can be all about protection. My gender is please don't rape me. My whole sexual orientation, if you will, is I've been sacrificed enough to sexuality in all of its most, I'm sure, completely understandable, totally awesome proportions, but that make me want to kill myself. Okay. But so G, at the west side of the wheel, G or reverse G, or what do you want to call it? What letter would that be? Like the letter D almost. But anyway, is gender. You know, the good red road. Now you're in the journey home. You complete the wheel. The piece of communication, the purpose of your life. The sustaining of joy upon thy mother's face. The voice of her creative faculties, which is in many respects defiled in terms of just having words and thoughts and sentiments that can come together in something more than sex or some perverted football game, but to connect our mother's reproductive system to the birth of our lives and to the sustaining of the joy of our mothers and of ourselves into the everlasting. The spring and the something that resonates with creation as much as any animal could say that they resonate, and that of the voice of all the stories that could tell. Is that not well inside of us? Is that not a spell we can get with? Is that not a hell we can grow from? In the world we may seem to be embroiled, our roots are embroiled in that world. They are here. They are with us. They go where we do. We fight something that our ancestors have fought. We suffer from our ancestors have suffered, and they found a way, and they helped us find a way, and we have to find our own way also. Even in this cold, dark, and they must help lead us on the good red road. And we must lead others in our family that way. Even in our isolation, do we not lead one another if we go upon a good path? We are dealing with some sense the same cold, dark world. which, as far as the systems of protection, as they are alerted and drawn forth from the very biological machinery of human beings to many vast psychological proportions, which we can all talk about and notice and suffer from and enjoy in all their various degrees. We are breathing. We are performing the first job of taking on the office and the stress of drawing breath. Like the spring. The spring has to draw a breath out of the entire earth. You imagine the labor of drawing forth the breath of spring? Do not the stars turn and lend their own torque into the birth of spring? Is there not a force that has lent itself to our birth and to our taking our first breath? Are not our occupations, if you will, underwritten, adequately monetized or funded by the force which supported us in the first and longest labor of drawing forth breath? Much less sound that will make us more safe and less in danger. More happy, less sad, more rich, less poor, more healthy, more living, more joyful, less bereaved and angry. Do not we all labor so? Then let me be the poet of that song for a moment. And let me lead, and let me stand on the bow of what all our greatest exploits should make sound, if we truly count ourselves among this number and see that as an important thing to be able to do, to make every religion sound and every future possible. And if you haven't heard that sound for a while, that's okay. It's a compassionate sound. It's a generous sound. It's a sound that we make. Do you know? It's a sound that humans make. It's a song. It's a celestial music. And it kind of says, you can do whatever wrong to us that you like, but we will make this sound. Gotta be careful. What's that guy talking about? Making something sound, man. Call the police. I don't want to make anything sound. I operate within boundaries. My impromptu guerrilla theater may not be pleasant for other people to hear. And I always want to tell myself, boundaries. If something is worth doing out here, like breathing and making sound of such and such a nature or force, and that it has a force. It's not just the force I'm giving, but our breath has had a force imbued into it. That the total pneuma of man is that of the force of the heavens and the earth. And if we understood them no better than the hand in our hand at 3 years of age, we knew enough. You knew enough. Life is not a test of what you know best. It is yours. And like the greatest poet in the world, you didn't have to say anything about it. And you shouldn't have had to. And we shouldn't even need poets. But that you drew breath and this world knew enough to know how fucking amazing that was in itself. Look, we've preserved the advance of the brightest future, and the paths of all our joy come true, for our son and daughter has drawn forth their first breath. These organs of the mother have been made sound. Beauty, which we may e'er look upon, has found its fountainhead, and all has been made sound. We as man have that joy and that responsibility, that we are imbued with spirit. That's what gives us power. That's what gives us responsibility, not because you have a job or are born in some place in the epic of human suffering called society. People have to be left to be dirty animals or savage nobility. And whatever you see yourself, let us be no more than savage nobility. Let us be no less than dirty animals, living in their own good, clean filth. Part of this advertising religion where your house should be bacterial free at all times. Not that I'm against having an air filter and things like that, but the number or the proliferation of numbers of chemicals and smells, and then chemicals to neutralize the smells of detergents and bleaches or whatnot, has been on the rise, probably since the turn of the 20th century. It's part of the same economic mind, if you will, that gave our grandfathers and grandmothers, farmers, pesticides that might as well have been called Agent Orange for all the good it was going to do their lungs or their stomachs. That given the range and the articulation of such mentalities, and our, I think, very innocent and perhaps quite devotion to it, or its God, and saying which is to make a confrontation out of our existence, has effectively been deemed the greatest wrong there is in every religion in the world, as though to question the very spirit of God. It is at best the subject of farces about, the doubting Thomist who rails at the sky and says, "Prove to me you love me." Or the Christian that gets up and says, "I am an unbeliever, and I said, Lord, prove to me that you exist." And a Bible fell into my hands. And I do not question the hunger, which is most honest, which people supply their religious devotion, before they supply their religious devotion to any God. I wonder, having seen many hundreds of older people in their stuffy jackets and their Sunday dresses, to usher forth and to sit in pews and to look towards an altar and a stage and to have a musician and the rudiments of some sort of theatrical human sacrifice, and have no idea about the historical and religious antecedents of what they're doing, sitting there almost like they're part of a wax museum called the Living Dead, and saying all the right things and singing all the right things and shuffling to all the right places and putting the wafer in their mouths and crossing themselves accordingly and whispering such things into their minds as we may find upon the pages of their holy book, the holy book. That in all the world and in all the things which the human mind could yet read or discern for itself, scary as a thought as that may be, more fearsome should be your thoughts about the great God of humanity. That no tree or bough is ever said as much as this glorified toilet paper called the Holy Bible. And glory did I in wiping my shit-stained arse with every fucking filthy page. My only fear being that it would actually give me an infection. And finding these so-called holy scripts vastly improved by the exercise in my appreciation for what is in this incredible toilet paper, if you really start to apply yourself and then apply it to yourself. Very hardy stuff. It has survived on the earth for a long time. So long you can wipe your ass with it in rain or wind or snow. And it will clean your arse mighty fine. And it's finally doing something for me. The first time I wiped my ass with the Holy Bible was the first time I felt I had the greatest shit of my life, and the Bible that actually in God had been useful to my family. The ultimate heathen act put that under us, which has put us under and under this or that rule, which at the worst case scenario, you just don't need so much of, that you stop thinking for yourself, that the stuff through these clouds as I speak. And my feelings for my father and my mother, which are mine and yours and private to each of us, and we should at least be free to religion of that sanctuary before and beyond any religion in the world, and nor should I be able to make claims upon you or you upon me because of some such sacred thing I imagine myself to be as a child with a mommy and daddy. But don't inhibit me in my life. And don't be a part of a world, nor I myself, and say to each other, we do each other no harm, that there is no war in my heart or you towards me, that no, we have not suffered some robbery of the beauteous nature of a child, the aesthetic and moral mental development of someone born eminently capable of making critical judgments about safety around people. Like a puppy, like a young wolf. Action and safety and judgment. Don't wait to the age of majority, drinking and condoms, to develop in the greatest school world the same capacity on the order of your fingers and toes and your ability to breathe and articulate blood through the capillaries of your baby body. The ability to judge right from wrong, ogre from orc. We were born with that. To say what we know. Your babies say what they know, and they know a good deal about what they like and what, or they would not have fingers and toes to begin with. They'd be born with flippers. You got to treat them. Their body is telling you they have great minds. The body of man is an incredible fucking mind with incredible fucking judgment. That's the voice of man. That's the voice of the spirit. The judgment of the spirit you need to be looking to is the judgment of the spirit of your own fucking body. Proof of whose incredible intelligence, its damnable and rebellious self-interest, is in the fact that you have fingernails and a scrotum. It's all here. And this is what great fucking judgment looks like. It looks like the human body. Respect that in your children and what that body loves, what the spirit loves, whose father loves, whose mother loves its mother and father, or would, or needs to, and can be forgiven from wanting to or needing to. Please, oh fucking God Almighty, let me have my own fucking breath, that no man breathes who does not labor to do so. That is my first and greatest labor, that I drew breath, and not only by the forces of my own body, but the force of the sun and moon and stars, and that which themselves would be as nothing, and I would believe you that they are such and such amount of dust and nothing, but that they mean something to me, on the order that my mother means something to me, and my father means something to me, and every sacred bower, what I had ever had the opportunity to dwell among them. And to say I touched their physical form, and they touched me. Callous though that touch may have been, insufficient that that love must be now grieved to have been, to be robbed of all of the warmth, of the kindness, the love perhaps I or you should have had, if we are all perfectly honest. And nonetheless, the greatest people upon whom the greatest kind of human heart had ever favored with itself. And love that. Love that. And not this ecclesiastical love, this academic love, with so many words and fucking commandments that I dare say you weren't ever born needing to be told or patronized with. Money is born from you, motherfucker, not the other way around. Okay. That could have been a bit rhetorical. That could have been a bit rhetorical. I'm sorry. We have a rhetorical flag on the play. We're going to take back everything he just said. You will ignore that. The jury will ignore it.